Okay, so the Easter long weekend is almost here, and a lot of us may be traveling. And for some folks, the association between travel and alcohol can be very strong, and so strong it can be hard to avoid booze in airports and resorts if you're trying to drink less or not at all. And here with tips on how to do this is Myles Sexton, who's a sobriety advocate. Welcome, Myles.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so great to chat with you. And I want to ask you first, right out of the gate, I know you recently went on your first all-inclusive vacation while completely sober.
Yes.
And I mean, I do drink, and I'm a little ashamed to admit that one of the appeals for me of going to an all-inclusive resort, I've only ever been to a few, is the fact that you can drink or eat as much as you want. So what was it like navigating that for you now as a sober person?
Well, it's kind of funny because I'm celebrating 6 years of sobriety this year. So it was funny because I was like, oh, wait, I've never actually done this yet. And I think subconsciously, maybe I was avoiding going into those spaces just because drinking is so heavily focused there.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I think now coming out of it, it was so liberating to go in and be like, okay, no, I can do this. And I think other people can do it too, so.
Other maybe areas or pitfalls that I imagine could be an issue for somebody who's sober when traveling, you know, the bar card on the airplane or airport lounges. If you go to the lounge. So what are some tips for navigating around that?
Yeah, you know, something I really love to do as soon as I get through security and I arrive at my terminal is I'll do like a little bit of exploration. I'm like, okay, what restaurants are available? What cafes are there? What retail stores are there? You know, so I kind of do like a full walk around and then I'm like, okay, which space do I think is going to be the best space for me to get the best food and feel the most comfortable in? Because, you know, a lot of them can be like a bit more bar style versus you might be able to find something that's a bit more of a restaurant style. So it's not so heavily drinking focused.
Yeah.
But then I also like look at it as an opportunity to like, how do I give back to myself? So one of the things I think is always funny is like, I'll go through my phone and I'll like start deleting old photos if I have a bit of time to kill. So I'm like, how many photos do we have on our phone that we've just like accumulated over the years, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll use this as an opportunity to declutter. Or, you know, maybe you can read a book or like listen to an audiobook too if you do have extra time. So just finding other activities that are not focused around drinking.
Those are good tips, and you can actually be productive.
Exactly.
We touched a little bit about all-inclusive resorts, but expanding on that a bit, and you know, even you think of hotels in general, happy hours. There's so much about hotels and tourism that is related to drinking. So what are some other suggestions for avoiding those things?
I think the biggest thing that helped me was really about creating a routine. So like every morning I would wake up, I'd watch the sunset. I'm like, when do I ever get to do that? You know, like, so I was like, I committed to myself waking up early and watching the sunset. Then I would go for a run. Then I'd go to the gym and do a little bit of Pilates. So I was like keeping up with my sort of physical routine. Then I'd go eat a great breakfast. Maybe in the afternoon, I was like doing a bit of journaling at the beach, or I was like going and looking for activities that like weren't focused around drinking. So either going and exploring a nearby city, going snorkeling. You know, I think there is a lot of activities like outside of the resort that like aren't focused so heavily on drinking.
What about if you're traveling and say you do drink, but you're traveling with somebody who's completely sober or just trying to drink a lot less? Do you have any pointers for how you can, you know, help out that person and support them on their journey?
Totally. I think there's two really great ways to show support. And again, like support is something that is different for everyone, right? Like I think it's always good to ask what support looks like for that other person. But I know for me, I think having support around the bar area is a big one because, you know, there's been so many times that I've gone up to the bar just to order a non-alcoholic beverage and then people like try to buy me shots or buy me a drink and because they're having a good time. And then I have to go through this whole thing of like, I don't drink. And then that kind of like waterfalls into this whole set of emotions that the other person might be experiencing. And then I think it's just being aware of like a person's boundaries that maybe is sober curious or is sober, you know, so if I need to take space to be alone, you know, that has nothing probably to do with you. It's just I'm feeling overwhelmed. I want to feel grounded, you know, and then I think also just asking like, I guess how you can support them or check in with them, you know, I think is another really big one. Just because sometimes it can be like that awkward like elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about, but when we start talking about it, we normalize it. So I just find that those are some really good pieces that can show support.
I love that idea of starting by asking them.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. Myles, thank you so much. Great insight and great tips.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.